Yes.
You ready? We started. You're good. Ready? Good evening. Welcome to our regular meeting of the Board of Education for Huntington School District. Today, Monday, May the 23rd, 2022, 7 p.m. Boardroom at 101 West Division, Fort Stockton, Texas. At this time, I'll ask Mr. Dominguez to do the roll call to establish the quorum.
Dr. Dominguez, present. Billy Espino, present. Lou Garcia, here. Eddie Martinez, here. Andy Rivera, here. Andy Rivera,
Here.
This meeting has been duly called and notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Chapter 551 of Texas Government Code. This time I'll ask Mr. Garcia to lead us in our pledge of allegiance, followed by our invocation by Dr. Water.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to gather here this evening. In your son's name we pray that you continue to guide us in the right direction, grant us the wisdom to lead forth Dr. ISD on a true course. We pray for peace. We ask for your many blessings. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Next item on the agenda is the statement of officers. We're going to ask that the officers stand for, sit where you are and read your statement of officers. We're going to go with Freddie, and then Nacho, and then Sam. We're going back. Yes, sir. Freddie, read your statement.
I, Alfredo Freddie Martinez, do solemnly swear that I have not directly or indirectly paid, offered, or promised to pay, contributed, or promised to contribute any money or thing of value or election by which I was elected, or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation, whichever the case may be. So help me God.
Nacho.
I am Dr. Dominguez, do solemnly swear that I have not directly or indirectly paid, offered, or promised to pay contributions or promised to contribute any money or things of value, or promise any public office or employment for giving or withholding a vote at the elections at which I was elected, or as a reward to secure an appointment or confirmation, whichever the case may be. So help me God.
Sandy.
I, Sandra Rivera, solemnly swear that I have not directly or indirectly paid, offered, promised to pay, contributed, or promised to contribute any my money or thing of value, or promised any public office or employment for the giving or withholding of a vote at the election in which I was elected, or as a reward to secure any appointment or confirmation, whichever the case may be, so help me God.
Congratulations. At this time, we're going to the administration of the oath of office, and this time that we do ask that you stand, you stand in the order. And Beverly will read the oath, and you can just follow along and put your name in.
You'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas,
In the name and authority of the state of Texas,
I state your name,
I am Justice Dominguez.
do solemnly swear or affirm
Do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
That I will
that I will
faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Fort Stockton ISD
Fort Stockton ISD
School Board Trustee
Ward 5
of the state of Texas
of the state of Texas
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state.
and of the state,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Next item on the agenda is the board reorganization. We start with the office of president. Do I have any nominations? I nominate Billy for president. So nominate Billy. Any other nominations? I second it. Second by Nacho. All those in favor? Raise your right hand. Okay. Carry. All right. Vice President. Nominate Flo. Okay. We've got Andy nominated Flo, second by Fred. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. Secretary.
Nominate Dr. Dominguez.
Flo nominates Nacho,
I'll second that.
second by Andy. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. So. Okay. Next item on the agenda is staff report. Thought?
No one was here.
Oh, goodness. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Those not up for public comments?
No, very good. I left the assistant secretary here. Okay. Well, that might, so thought I. All right, do I hear a nomination?
I nominate Freddie.
Ready, nominated by Nacho.
I nominate Sandra.
Andy nominates Sandy. Okay. Okay, all those in favor of Fred, raise your right hand. 3. Okay, all those in favor of Sandy, raise your right hand. You got 3. Pardon? Well, I guess we'll do the way to Uso's coming, we can have another vote, okay? All right. Okay, go ahead.
We're starting our staff report with the principals who will be introducing details of the campus students of the month.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Sonora, Mr. Espino, and members of the board again for this opportunity to share and recognize the success of our students. We'll start off with the high school student of the month. And the student that was selected this month is Selena Mendoza. Selena, will you join me up here? Selena is a 2022 graduate of Fort Stockton High School. She participated in our dual credit program, where she earned 16 hours of college credits and also the office systems certificate. Is that correct? Yes. And recently, in her economics class, Selena completed a very thorough and thoughtful research project. She was a leader in her group, and she was an inspiration to the members in her group. Selena was also a student that back at the beginning of the pandemic, she was one of the few highly successful students that was able to manage and handle virtual learning. She was very consistent. She double checked, triple checked her assignments, and always made sure that things were done and done on time. And this evening, Selena is being recognized for leadership in the classroom. Selena, congratulations.
Good evening, Dr. Demona, School Board, parents, students, and staff. Thank you for the privilege of your time. I have the privilege to introduce the Student of the Month of Middle School. Mr. Andrew Black is the Student of the Month. Andrew is hardworking and is well deserving of this recognition. We appreciate him. We also appreciate his parents for all they do for the school district and supporting us and supporting their student. Andrew gives all his effort and all he does with a great attitude. Students like Andrew are responsible for our school's continual growth and development, combined with our efforts of our highly proficient teachers and staff. At the end of the school year, it was quite evident that Andrew deserved the same recognition as the rest of the students of the month. Andrew received awards in 8th grade honors, English language arts, 8th grade project lead the way, middle school 3-year award in math, middle school 3-year award in science, all year AD honor roll, 3-year all year AD honor roll, and he was selected by the staff of middle school as a top 10 student of his 8th grade class. We look forward to many great things from Andrew in the future. Mr. Andrew Black. We can kindly introduce the gentleman walking out of the school board.
Yes, this evening it gives me pleasure to introduce to you all the members of the board and the guests of the board meeting. This is Mr. Julian Castillo. He is the new principal at intermediate. So please welcome him to Fort Scott.
Thank you. Good evening. Our intermediate student of the month for this month was Adriana Filosa. She is a 4th grader at intermediate. She is an excellent student. She takes care of her business, follows classroom procedures and expectations without complaining. She submits exceptional work consistently and receives superior grades. Adriana is willing to help others. She's always happy and always a friend to others. These qualities make her an excellent representative of intermediate student of the month. So unfortunately, she's not here today because she's already started her vacation. We'll make sure to get it.
Good evening, everyone. Unfortunately, our Alamo student of the month also wasn't able to make it tonight. However, earning this month's recognition for Alamo is Jude Vega. Jude is in the 2nd grade. He is an honor roll student as well as one of our top reading students in his class. He earned a Growth Award in reading this year for growing a 1.5 years on his reading level. He is a model student with excellent character traits. He's sweet, responsible, and is always eager to help with anything needed. Alamo is very proud he's been selected as our next speaker.
Good evening. I've got my junior. So I would like to introduce to you Ezra Granado. He is a kindergarten student this year in Miss Lawler's class. He had a great school year. Mr. Ezra Granado is not only an amazing student, but a compassionate and thoughtful kindergartner. He is always using his observant ways and expressive vocabulary to grow. One thing him and I, Ezra has the best lunches packed by his grandma. Thank you for using your time wisely to expand your abilities as a reader, mathematician, and an author. We expect great things from you.
Sir, before we release several individuals and want to take off, I just want to acknowledge and thank the Street Tree Shop downtown. All year they've given the students of the month a free ice cream. And I just think that that's all about what Fort Stockton is, right? What they turn around and recognize our folks. So with that said, parents, this is a part of the, always our favorite part of the board meetings, you know, listening to what the kids are doing. But we do allow at this time for any of you that wish to move along and not have to watch all of the boring part, to do so at this time. Y'all are also welcome to stay, but if you choose to leave, thank you all for coming and thank you all for being such great parents to your students. Congratulations. Okay, sir, just to bring up some of the subjects that we've been dealing with, most of the STAR scores are now back. Unfortunately, the system was all kinds of wonky today. At the end of the day, I was finally able to download most of the results and upload them into our data management system. So hopefully, sometime early tomorrow, we'll be able to get a better report. But I can say that in the meeting that we had today with the cabinet, we were pleased because our kids performed significantly better than last year. And just as I mentioned the other day with the high school, it appears that we're at least on level or beyond our region in a lot of the areas. And in some cases, we're right there with the state. So a lot of progress has been made. We will give a more formal report once we have that data available. I had several meetings with the FFA Booster Club representatives. And I think that initially, when they planned on attending here, that they're satisfied that the plan that we have in place, despite the failure of the bond, is going to move that program forward along with the other programs. We've had those discussions this morning today, and we will continue to stay in touch with those individuals. I'm excited at how supportive they want to be to Fort Stockton ISD. The last thing is, as everybody probably knows, our athletic director position search has been advertised and is ongoing. Because of the timeline involved, it's going to be fast and furious. The last day for applications, resumes to be accepted is the 25th. And a committee that has been formed will meet shortly after that to conduct interviews to then recommend top candidates out of the applicants to the school board. So those are the major things that I have to at least mention and report upon at this point. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Business management, any questions for her? No. Assistant superintendent and athletic director. Any for the assistant superintendents?
Or some activity going on this time?
Summer activities as far as
Basketball camp. Back camp.
Coach Peters is still officially the athletic director, and we're expecting one of the things to say is we would never leave the district without ensuring that everything is in line. So,
I heard on the radio, we're advertising. So it's kind of different place.
Yeah, they're put everything on this. This is the motion.
Along those lines, I heard from some parents from intermediate who were excited about kids being able to ride the charter buses and activity buses. They were excited themselves, apparently very pleased with that. So whoever came up with that idea, that's great. So anyway,
Coach Peters with the.
Coach Peters,
Coach Peters and Coach Bell. Contribution.
well, they've done good. All right. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. The board has been furnished with background materials on each item and already has been discussed at the previous meeting. All items will be acted upon by one vote per category. Items may be withdrawn for individual consideration. The remaining items will be adopted by one vote per category. Items withdrawn for separate discussion will be acted upon individually. We have A, the minutes, approval of minutes of the regular board meeting of April 27, 2022. And the special election canvassing meeting on May 18, 2022. And then B, the April check register. Any questions, comments, clarifications on that? If not, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda, A minutes, B April check register.
We have a motion by Flo to approve the consent agenda, A minutes, and B April check register. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Sandy. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is discussion and information, and we have Mr. Sam Calderon with the Appraisal District value presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, President Billy, trustees, Dr. Gomora, and everybody else in attendance. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak at your meeting today. I would like to start with the video. I know some of you have seen our website and maybe some of you have not. But we do have a video on our website that explains in a broad sense what appraisal districts are and who appraisers are. It's a brief 3-minute video, so. Here it is. Technical difficulties. Work from home. In the meantime, I'd invite anybody to go and look at our website. We've got a lot of information there. You can do property search. We have our map online, GIS. There's a lot of information on our website. Online forums, and here recently we got notice of appraised values out. So even then, if you want, you can go into some.
Not so. Appraisers don't set tax rate.
Okay.
So there's a lot of misunderstanding about the role of appraisers and how they affect the property tax that homeowners pay. When someone hears the term appraiser, they seem to think of a scary figure reaching for their wallet. Not so. Appraisers don't set tax rates. Appraisers don't chase tax dollars. An appraiser is interested in fairly determining property values, and they take great pride in it. Property tax is determined by a simple formula. Appraisers only affect one of these variables, the value, and they do so with incredible accuracy. Appraisers aren't tax managers or even tax setters. They're just fellow taxpayers, and their primary goal is to make everything fair and equitable. Imagine that you're in a restaurant with two friends. One orders a hot dog, one a plate of caviar, and you order a steak. The waiter comes to the table with a total bill of $100, but he doesn't know how much each of you should pay. If everyone paid the same amount, the guy who ordered caviar might be happy. But what about the guy who ordered a hot dog? Enter appraisers. The food is your property. Just like these meals, some people's property is worth more than others. And it's the appraiser's job to determine how much each property is worth. That's it. So in the same way the value of these menu items would need to be determined, An appraiser places values on properties to ensure fairness and equity. After the appraiser determines the value of each property, local governing bodies will set their budgets for the coming year. They set the tax rate in order to produce the dollars needed for their budgets. The value of a property does not affect the amount of property tax needed. The sum total of all these budgets is a set number that has to be divided up among all the property owners. So even if everyone's value is cut in half by the appraisers, the tax rate will be raised in order to generate the same amount of tax revenue. The appraisers don't determine the taxes you pay. They just determine the values of properties to keep everything as fair and equitable as possible. When you notice a change in your property's appraised value, the change is the result of a never-ending quest for fairness and accuracy. Appraisers are graded on their performance, so there is a detailed system to get accurate valuations. First, the appraiser looks at similar properties that have sold, their sale prices, and the terms and conditions of each sale. That's the reason your home won't just be compared to the place next door. Studying things like square footage, age, and location helps appraisers determine how comparable another property is to yours. Even seemingly small details, like an extra bathroom or finished basement, can result in significant differences in value in two otherwise identical homes. Appraisers maintain a thorough database of real estate information to make this process as precise as possible. Changes in value are typically the result of local real estate market sales or major changes to a property. Remodel a kitchen or finish your basement, your property's value could increase. When you see your home's appraised value, you can rest assured that the number has not been drawn out of the hat, nor generated with anything and accuracy in mind. Long story short, appraisers are here to help, not trying to hinder. Their focus is accurate values, not tax collection. The only things an appraiser chases are fairness and equity, and they take great pride in it.
This was a video that recently we purchased in the Appraisal District, and Billy is on the board of directors, and he was instrumental in us being able to provide this for the community, because there were a lot of questions as to what is the Appraisal District, what's the role of the appraisers, and I know some people are like, well, we don't know where you're located and whatnot, but I do stress to people, please, we are online. You can go to Google, you can go to our website. And even on this presentation here, there's a front of our building. We are in a county building. And I do like to bring attention to the website. But I also wanted to kind of go with how the system works. An appraisal district in each county sets the value of the taxable property each year, kind of based on what the video just stated. And the chief appraiser is the appraisal district's chief administrator and is responsible to a board of directors for its operation. An appraisal review board, the ARB, settles any disagreements between you and the appraisal district about the value of your property. Local taxing units, including the county, city, school districts, and special districts, decide how much money they will spend each year. This in turn determines the tax rate they need to set and the total amount of taxes that you and your neighbors will pay. The system has 4 stages. We value the taxable property. Then we go into the protest equalization of values, which we're in right now after the notices are out. And adopting the tax rates will come up at a later date. And then finally, the collection of taxes at the end of the year in October. Our constitutional standards are, number 1, taxation must be equal and uniform. And that's what the video states. Sums it up very well. I've had individuals that said, hey, I like your cartoon online. That really explained it very well. And so it is getting out there. People are understanding who we are, what we do. And that's the goal of the appraisal district. We want to get that information out there. We want people to come and ask us questions. Because like what I tell people is, you know your property better than what we do. We handle about 30,000 real estate parcels. And we've got a staff of 5 right now. Near impossible to get every single one of them exactly correct. So we need your help as a community. Number 2, with some exceptions, all tangible property must be taxed on its January 1 market value. These values that we released here recently are as of January 1. We used the information from 2021. It's actually January 2nd to December 31st. We use the data, we use that information, market sales, income analysis, P&Ls, that's all the information that we use for these proposed 2022 values that we've got out right now. Number 3, all property is taxable unless federal, state, or local law provides an exemption for it. And here, if you'll notice, I'm kind of stressing residential because that's where we get most of our questions from. You have a market and a taxable value. If anybody has seen their notice of appraised value, that can be kind of deceiving. Market value is exactly that. What we feel with the data that we have, your home would sell for in the market. Now, the taxable value is minus the exemptions. For example, here recently, Proposition 2 was passed. School district now, instead of the 25,000, it now is 40,000 that you get an exemption on a homestead property. So that's going to benefit individuals. So therefore, if you had a $100,000 home, just for some numbers, that $40,000 exemption means that you're going to be taxed on 60,000. Therefore, the difference in market and taxable. Number 4, each property in a given appraisal district must have one appraised value. And 5, property owners have a right to reasonable notice of increases in appraised property values. That reasonable notice is exactly that notice of appraised value that we send out. We're the only entity that actually sends that out to all taxpayers within, the county. Our evaluation process, we established January 1, accurate and equitable market value. We work building permits approximately between August 1st through January 15th. We normally do our reappraisals as well, January 15th through April 15th, which we just did, which we look at our schedules, we look at cost, we look at income approach data. We also have residential and commercial model development during this time, residential neighborhoods, commercial land market areas, and improved market areas. Business personal property, we have site visits. We also work the rendition forms. If anybody has a business, you'll get a rendition form in the mail that will ask you to render any of your business personal property. And he's familiar with it, and it's anything that's furniture, fixtures, equipment, and inventory. We have 3 approaches to value. We have the cost approach, which is exactly that. We use Marshall and Swift, which is a nationwide collectors of data that help us to determine the cost of what it would be to build, whether it's commercial buildings, residential, and anything that may be a unique build in Pecos County. We also have the sales approach, which we gather sales data. We try to gather as much of it as we can, but the hard part about that, if you're familiar with Texas is a non-disclosure state, so it's really hard for us to get sales data. It's really hard for us to be as accurate as we'd like. Because if you were to purchase the property, you don't have to share that information with us, which it is your right. But it does help us to be more accurate with our values. We do get a little bit of information from the comptroller because they're able to get a little bit more of the information due to them having many other resources, and I think they've got other websites and whatnot that collect the data for them as well that they can pay for. And once again, we also have the income approach, which is typically going to be hotels, some businesses as well. We'll do an income approach if for some reason we don't have the data for the sales or the cost. Now, this is the information that I'm sure everybody's waiting on. A lot of people ask me, well, why have you gone up so much, Sam? Why is the appraisal district increasing their values? And this is exactly why we're having to do this. This is a historical property value study from the Texas Comptroller, and it's for FSISD, and this is just residential property. This doesn't include commercial. They'll test us on commercial, they'll test us on residential, and they also test us on oil and gas and industrial. You'll notice in 2015, our local tax roll for residential property was 231 million. Our property value study, which is we consider it an audit, they come in and randomly select properties and test those values. Well, you'll notice here, they came in at 233 million. We had a ratio of 99%. So with the the comptroller, we have to be within a 5% window, or actually it's a 10%. We have to be within 95% of the value that they test us and come up with. And no more than 105%. So that's a 10% window. It's a very high standard that they hold us to, and rightfully so, because all of this data goes to TEA. It could possibly affect school funding, so they're very strict with us. Many people don't realize that we do have to answer to the state. We are a state entity. Just because our name is Pecos County Appraisal District does not mean we are a county entity. I have to answer to the state and the comptroller and their mandates. Typically, on a property value study, you'll notice they would do one every 2 years. We've got 2015, 2017. 2017, we had some issues. We had a local tax roll of 246 million. They came in at 324 million. Based on sales and information that they gave me, it was a huge increase. You'll notice I had been going up 6%, and that's the other question that I do receive. People ask me, why don't you just go up 6% or 5% or 10%? Why does it have to be 20, 30%? But I wanted to show this to the school board that we have tried this in the past. But with them and the data that they've had, you'll notice I was at a 75% ratio here, and they went up 39%, almost 40%. So I was playing catch up. You'll notice I did try the 6, 7, 7%, almost 8%. They were 11. Now we're getting to a point where I had to really kick up our values because I was falling behind too much. And you'll notice this year, this is an estimate. This is what I've noticed right now. This estimate here is, if they were to remain the same as last year, I would be at 106, but I know they're not going to stay the same. I won't get tested until, for 2022, they won't start testing us until later this year. So that's why it's just an estimate. And you'll notice we're at 106. We're back to where we are, or we should be, I'm sorry. And I know we're a little high, but that also gives us room to be able to work with people a little bit more as well, because we are at the market based on the information that we have. The other thing that I'd like to point out is, you'll notice, ever since 2017, the appraisal district's had a property value study every single year. We haven't been back to the every other year, and it gets really tiring. The only way that this can stop and we go to every other year is if I get back in line with them. And I think we're there now. I think our market is there, our schedules are there. But is it the end all be all? No, it's not. That's why I come to you as trustees and everybody else. Nathan, please get the word out. We want people to call us. We want people to ask questions, because this number, some properties are going to be high. Some, are going to be out the ballpark, and, they do get a little wonky. That's just the nature of the beast. And we need to hear from people. And there are some things that I've found that we will be making some adjustments on. That's why I say this is just estimates, because I've had people call, they're upset. They want to know what's going on, but I always tell them, these are not finalized until July 25th. It's exactly right now is the time to call us. Right now is the time to question it, and we'll do it one-on-one. I've got members of my staff here. They'll take the time to visit with everybody. We want them to. We want people to know that we are here to help them, help us help you, because that's the only way that we're going to get fair and equal values. I'd like to get this back down to 100%, 98, 99%. As long as we're within that 10% window, that's what we're looking at. So, it's really, really tough. Appraisal work, it's hard, especially the way we do it with mass appraisal. Anybody have any questions on?
Sam, were you gonna show us or tell us about the percentages throughout the state as far as some areas, you address that at the board meeting?
On,
As far as the percentages that the different counties and cities went out.
I did not bring that because I was limited on time and I just wanted to, just focus on Fort Stockton ISD as to why and what's going on. But that's the truth. Right now, and I'll just tell you verbally that yes, across the state, 2021 was a historical year. We, all appraisal districts right now, we haven't seen numbers like this ever. You've seen, even in Bexar County, 40% increases, 50% increases. I mean, we're not the only ones. Here in Pecos County, we range from 15% to 40% because certain properties went up more than others. And some we were pretty good on already, but others we were really low on, and we had to adjust them accordingly. It's just, I know everybody's upset, everybody's got questions, but there is a great article in Texas Monthly that was pointed out to me. If you'll ever get a chance, look up Texas Monthly. And there's an individual that wrote an article on, what's happening with the property taxes now and the values. I would recommend people go and read that article. He sums it up perfectly. It's in depth, and although it's in the Austin setting, I believe the gentleman was given his personal example of his home was purchased at $200,000. Now it's worth over $800,000. It's just, the market is just crazy. But that goes hand in hand with what we're living in right now. Inflation, cost of goods, materials, it all factors into what we're paying because people see, plus in 2021, we had historic lows on mortgage rates. So it was easier for people to get a loan and people were willing to pay more. I've heard of other places that they try to purchase a property, they offer 100,000 over asking price and they still don't get the property. It's very, very, very big. I've never seen this before. In my 22 years of being in the appraisal district and just keeping track of the state. And I understand, I try to stay away from state activities because people want to know what's going on here locally, just like me. I want it to stay local. I care more about our local constituents than anything else. That's why I'm focusing on what's happening here locally. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Now, this is just for information.
Okay.
Like, we passed that 40, you said we get that
$40,000
additional homestead. Should the appraisal district make up that difference?
No.
Do you understand me?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. This right here, this is market value. This isn't taxable value. I'm sorry. No, this is market value. Yeah, because they're going to test me on market value. I don't have the taxable. Your taxable will be somewhere, I believe, Maria, was about 400. Might be in the it's going to be about 400 million for the taxable. Because we take into account the exemptions, and some people have over 65s. Some individuals have veterans exemptions. We do have, because if you're 100% disabled as a veteran, you don't pay any taxes. So that will knock this number down. So let me stress, this is a market value number, not a tax.
You don't pay taxes on your primary home as a veteran.
Yes, if you're 100% disabled, but that is.
You pay on any other properties.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you for the clarification. That was a problem.
And then secondly, your tax values don't go up by, I don't pay higher taxes just because I live next to a high school.
No.
Or, what do I do? High school, neighborhood, or I go off by Willie Fuku buying a house just like mine down the street. We had over 200,000. I bought mine at 60. And the state will take a snapshot of those 5 houses that sold like mine at 200,000. Now my taxes go up that high.
Well, the state, they do it a little differently because it's correct. You're absolutely correct that they do take a snapshot. They'll take a sample of, say, for example, 16 properties, and then out of that 16 properties, they'll derive a taxable value. We do it a little bit more in depth. We'll take those 16 properties and we'll develop a ratio study, we'll do a market analysis, then we'll adjust our price per square foot on the homes based on the class. We have our classes from M1 to M7. M7 being the nicer homes, we have some over at Greasewood, over off of Sycamore, we have some over here by the high school. Would be a lot of the M6, M7s, and from there you go to the M5s, M4s. And we look at each one of those and see how they're selling. And from there, it'll determine how far off we are from those sales prices. So the overall ratio is off by 30%, and I'm going to kick that schedule up roughly 30% in order to recoup whatever the market, and it applies across the board.
That one more question. So we're going up 30%. We're impacting everybody that's also or whatever. We know what our tax rate is, about over 113, 113. So if we're going up on our estimated values, we'll get more money.
Absolutely. That means,
But
and it's a little different. The school, the recapture, everything else, that's what's so hard with Fort Stockton ISD being a rich school district. It's very tough because we have to give money back to the state. And, everybody else gets to keep their full amount here. And it's frustrating. The recapture is very frustrating. Any questions on this? I've got a few other things. I did want to go over what we're looking at on the 2022 estimate value. The real estate this year so far seems to be leveling off. Interest rates are going back up. And they're not moving as fast right now. Could change from here to the end of the year, but here recently it's been a little bit slower. We're noticing people are kind of testing the market. We've seen. We will make some adjustments now that notices are out. We also, minerals, oil and gas, this year's appraisal price is considerably higher. We're up about 32%. Last year on a price per barrel was $44.72. This year we're appraising it at $71.32 a barrel. We have gas at $3.13 to $3.79. So industrial will see a small increase. We still don't have the data centers on there. People ask me about that. They're still in construction, but they will be on for 2023. We're anticipating. But I also wanted to point this out as well. I just got the updates on the minerals, and I'll get these out to you as well, Dr. Zamora. But the early estimate is we're at 3.155 billion on the INS portion and 2.755 billion on the M&O for mineral and industrial total. So that's huge. It really went up. We're looking at over $1 billion increase in value in Vegas County or Fort Stockton. But like I said, those are estimates. It still could change. We still have protests. Sometimes people will provide us with information, but we can change. Even homeowners as well. We handle those and take those in with great pride. We want people to understand. We want them to know. If there is a process, we don't want them to be upset. We don't want them to, be afraid of the appraisal district, because I believe, our customer service, it's some of the best in the area. I'm proud of my employees and what we do. And I think we've got a great community. If we could just communicate and get the word out, we're willing to work with people if they can give us the information. We can't arbitrarily just drop it, but if they have information as far as, maybe they got some issues with their home, cracked foundations, roof has been split, just due to the movement or whatever, then we can adjust their appraisals and work with them on that. I want to thank you for your time and invitation to present at your trustees meeting. If there's not any other questions or anything else, Billy, that I might have forgotten.
Appreciate your time and the explanation and what have you, and also just the fact that it's not us facing this, it's throughout the state.
It is throughout the state, and the market is just crazy. The only thing that I can think of is if anybody really would like to, if you got any ideas as to what you would like done, visit with your legislators. They're the ones that do mandate this, and they're the ones that are in control of this. So as far as the laws and rules for appraisals.
Thank you for your time, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stop here with the ticket, we got. Thank you, Jordan.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it, Sam.
Thank you.
Moving on to action items. The board may elect to consider, discuss, table, approve, and or take action on any of the items under this section. Starting with item A, innovative courses. I said one, and workplace safety and health management. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, sir. This is on the list of other programs that the state has in place, but the school board must stay approved would be the intent to possibly use them. At the recommendation of Assistant Superintendent Curriculum, Mr. Horton, they'd like to add these to the menu of the high school courses. These will also help with the implementation of an auto tech program. Pretty cut and dry, but she is here in case you have questions regarding this. If not, everything will be in the courses.
And there's 2 courses. Yes.
Like going to the, what kind of certification will they get it for?
The auto tech, it's a CT sequence, and so that, I guess they get their mechanics certification.
They can attempt to take ASC certification exams, it prepares them for, and those do count towards our CCNR. That's in all the different areas, there's tons of.
Have we had this before, or?
No.
No, this is, we'll bring it back.
And the general employment, it has lots of different certifications that can go with that, embedded in that, like Microsoft, Excel, those kind of things, which also can give you points in your CCM at the end of the year. Plus, it's just a really good, the general employability is a really good program that actually teaches kids how to get a job when you get out of high school, how to do a resume, how to shake hands, make eye contact. Like it sounds basic, but kids struggle with it today.
Okay, we have a recommendation to approve the innovative courses. For discussion, comment? Not, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the innovation course OSP1 and workplace safety and health management.
We have a motion by Nancy to approve the innovative course OSP1 and workplace safety and health management. Do I hear a second?
I think.
Second by Fred. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is the 2022-2023 campus calendar. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, President Spino. So this, I think, is the first time that Woodstock and ISD will implement this flexibility. After having approved the district ISD calendar for the upcoming school year, the campus superintendents and leadership teams took that back to their campuses and then looked at implementing flexibility. So the district calendar stands, but within the campuses, what they best need, because every campus is a bit different. It was achieved via allowing them to look at early dismissal and optional days, which optional days take place. It's essentially a holiday where we still come to school. So the rules become very different. And what this is allowed is for each of the campuses, and I know lots of them work together, the elementaries are very close, created a calendar that's still within the boundaries minute-wise that will allow them to perform it in the best fashion possible for them. For instance, at the high school, when they take their tests, and I think some of the other campuses as well, they'll be doing an optional day when that takes place, the kids that are not testing don't have to report it. So rather than looking at all the waivers and things of that nature, it allows for them to go through and knock out the test. Now, I say that they have to stay within the boundaries of the district calendar because even though some of them may choose to have an optional or early release, transportation will run the same. So the campus is still responsible for providing all-day services for those students, even if they early release. But if parents come and pick them up, they can, and the ones that have to hang around, they'll figure out a plan to get them home, whether it be an optional day or an early release. Any questions? I know this would have been better for you all in color,
so that you can see, where they did it, but you have representatives here from every one of the campuses, and I think that if you ask them, they'll probably tell you that this flexibility has enabled some pretty unique plans that will be entered into Payne's system, and minutes will be kept specifically for those campuses.
How would it benefit us? Like I went to them the other day, and out of all of them, the major difference was out of the high school in December. And my question is, in May also.
High school has an advantage when it comes to this, because if you tell the kids that they can early release, they're leaving. They're gonna jump in a car, or they're gonna find the ride home. When it comes to the elementary, so the advantage that they have is if they do an early release, they can say, okay, the kids that whose parents didn't come pick them up, we're gonna take them to the gym and do an activity while the rest of the staff meets for the afternoon to accomplish whatever they need to accomplish. So we're not asking the parents to have to come pick them up. It's just allowing for the staffs to take better advantage. We only have 2 optional days in the actual district calendar, and one of those is a Comanche relays. And then the second one is right before the Easter break to allow for families to travel a little bit more. That optional day, they can take out the day earlier. So instead of a 4-day, it turns kind of into a 5. But we're still not making the parents pick up the slack as far as, I know we're not babysitters, but it's a reality that some parents count on us as they work for babysitting. So regardless, this is just a way for the campuses to put themselves in a better position. This is where I know that y'all talked about elementaries conducting reading academies that during the year.
Yes.
Using some of this.
So K through 3 are required by legislation to take the reading academy, the teachers, and it is, it's supposed to be about a 60-hour course, but it really, when it works out to it, this is the 3rd year of it, it's about 150 hours of work for the teachers. And they have to do it by law, and this is the last year to do it. We have 23 teachers that need to take it this year. And so what we're doing is we're using those student optional days so that they can have a day a day every month to work on the courses that they have to take and turn in the required artifacts to the state. They have to videotape themselves. They have to do a whole lot of things in order to pass this and get a check. And it actually goes on their teacher certification.
The
So
majority of teachers have already taken this, correct? I've heard a lot of them were taking it last year on their own time.
they did, and it was very difficult. And so we're trying to make it easier this year, especially there's 23, which is a larger group than they had last. They didn't do it this year. They did it the last year. And it was difficult. And it also allows the teachers that have already done the reading academy, then they can do tutorials with the kids who do come to school that day, because we'll have smaller groups.
Now, read this correctly, it's optional. So these are optional days of the kids. If you choose not to go there, they don't have to.
Exactly.
So if we need a babysitter or see good parents on, they can go and we'll take care of that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sorry about what you read.
Be from a king. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? If not, we have a recommendation to approve the campus calendar.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion.
I think they'll approve the 2022, and then maybe that, so.
We have a motion by Fred to approve the 2022-2023 campus calendar. But here's a second. No second. Second by Knuckles. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is the quote, purchase of non-CDL buses. Good morning.
This is something that Mr. Madrid and Mr. Warnock and I and Coach Peters had a big discussion on. As everybody knows, getting CDL bus drivers has been a challenge, and it's only becoming more difficult. There's now a class that it's going to begin, I think, this summer to be required. It's essentially a month class before you can even attempt to go get a driver's permit. So the challenges with getting those CDLs, keeping them is are only going to expand with different schedules and things that we're looking at running and the different events that are taking place. One of the discussions and possible solutions that we were visiting and discussing is the addition of non-CDL buses to the district. Now, in the state of Texas, a non-CDL bus consists of 14 passengers with the driver, and they are for route services. They have to maintain the yellow color. There are some that are activity buses that can be utilized as well. But when you get into that realm, you start thinking, well, then why not just use a van at that point? Because if it's not for route services, then it's not exactly necessary to maintain this type of bus. But I wanted to bring it forth because things are taking time. Mrs. Maria helped me to take some quotes from some of the co-ops so that we can legally look at purchasing them. And Ms. Maria said that we'd be lucky if we could get some by the start of the school year. And they're saying that if we place an order, we may be able to get them during the first semester. But we gotta move fast. This is going to be a possible solution. With the proposals that we have, we were talking about the possibility of purchasing 6. One of the challenges that we're looking at and facing now is having a reduced budget because the number of students that we're educating has been reduced. So despite the tax base, that means that more goes back to the state if we can attract and keep more kids. With the CDL challenges, with the looking to still bring in and treat our people as well as possible, the possibility of individuals, teachers, aides, clerical, jumping on one of these buses to conduct routes in and around town adds to maybe us being able to retain some more of them. And in an emergency, individuals being able to get our kids without this whole CDL discussion.
Well, at least we don't have somebody here to do the CDL training.
I know that Mr. Warner was talking to me specifically about that, trying to get his certification to.
He want to do it?
He's trying, and we were talking about it, and he was also looking at possibly working with some of the entities to be able to offer the 30-day course that we were talking about himself. So we're having those discussions.
I know the reason for it is on his thing. So anyway,
It's an expense, but rather than be caught without the proper number of CDL drivers, which I don't know, I'll jump about the lead, I still maintain my CDL, but that's not exactly why I get compensated for. So with the shakeup that's happened, including with the possibility of losing still more coaches, we want to be prepared to be able to move our kids around and have it to where any of our employees, provided they complete the 20-hour safety certification, can jump on one of these buses. And even if we have to make multiple trips around town, get them before they even get.
What's the difference? The only thing I see different on both of them is I'm just missing something. Is about $3,000. And the first one is the third reference for which one?
So some of them are shared riding, some of them are. I mean, we didn't get board agencies. One of the buses is a little more hardy when it comes to size. I want to say that these, is it the mini tour, Miss Maria, that are a little smaller?
The difference from what I understand is one that has the 5 windows and one has the 4 windows. The ones with the 5 windows has extra luggage in the back.
So right, like storage space.
Yes, sir.
which is the second one, I guess.
I'm sorry?
The second one, is that the second one? The second
Well,
one?
we left one of the quotes out of the package, so that's why I provided you a separate, printout. I set it at your station so that you could compare to the Blue Star that is already in the package. So one's from Blue Star and one is from Thomas Bus. So the difference between the two that are in the packet, one is the size. One is the 159, and then the other one, I believe, is 130. The first one is 139, which is a four.
This is
Yes,
for transportation to,
No, that's okay.
So the Blue Star or the Bluebirds, Mr. Mario? Right, they're the ones that I think see microbird. And they're the ones that, you can see the picture have a storage space in the back and then also, I want to say some overhead storage.
They both do, Dr. Zamora, except the one with the storage is the one, is gonna be the longer one, which the one that's in the package is gonna be the second quote. If you'll notice about halfway down, it says the 159-inch wheelbase, and the first one has the 139, as compared to the Thomas, the one that has the little star on the top is the big one, or the larger one. So if we want to compare prices, the second quote, which is the one that the gentleman that I spoke to recommended because of the little extra storage. For the 6 buses on the one with extra storage, for Blue Star, it's a 476, 726. For Thomas, for all 6 buses, it's 449, 300. Which that one is the difference of $27,426. If we go that route, and if you want to go with a smaller bus, the one that does not have the extra storage in the back, that one runs for Blue Star, the 473, 540. And for the Thomas, the total is 442, 700, which that one is the difference of $30,840.
And all 4 of them are gas.
Yes, sir. They're all gasoline.
You go with the big store.
The biggest.
Yeah.
The biggest one.
That board, we got one more question for them. That one, they really are. So these are just transportation buses for Tri-Town. So we need to take them out to, say, Monaghan's for baseball.
Absolutely.
We can do that with me, by the way, if I've got to say.
Yes.
Okay.
So the 20-hour course is moving and, they are not governed.
Okay. Are you going with 4? What do you mean by not double?
They're not governed. I know some of the yellow buses that stop at 55 automatically.
Is this one?
The little buses.
Then I'm not that.
89.
Little bus goes the speed limit.
Yeah. No. We go with 6.
It's,
And if we do the motion, we just ask, and we're going for the larger bus, which one is the larger bus? The Thomas or the? Because the way the motion I have to read is. Then you're telling me. Hold on.
Okay, need to DRW 051 unit.
The right one. Okay, that's one, it is one I agree with that one. One more for you there. And need to DRW. The one with the star, the the large one?
Yes, sir. The one with the star.
And it's right up there on the Thomas.
Yeah, so it's a DRW 051 unit. The model profile.
Yeah, right. Mini store, DRW.
where is Thomas selling them out, Mr. Mayor?
They're both out of Lubbock.
They both have a.
So Blue Star and Thomas.
Yes, sir.
The height is what I'm concerned over, because I want to know that one of the buses, somebody who's 6'1" could still walk in there and your hair might, well, but you know, if you have some hair on your head, they might raise the top. But I think the other bus, if you're 6'1", you kind of have to, you know, lean down. So I want to be sure we get the one that is taller and has space.
So we just need to go with the model profile, is that what the recommendation needs to go with? The DRW 051 MS, man, is that, am I reading that
Yes,
right?
sir, you need to pick a vendor and then which bus. Either Thomas or Bluebird, and then if you want the larger bus or the shorter
I
bus.
wanted to say that the Bluebird is the one that's taller, but just have to.
See.
I'm not sure where the height.
76 inches headroom on the first one. The second one, 76 inches, and then Thomas. Headroom 73.
76 is the.
Yes.
It's a microinverter, so.
The difference of what? Yeah. Nothing. Okay. Hey. Oh, this one over here, the people are. Yeah, no, yeah.
Is that accurate? Is the Blue Star with the? Second?
Star. The most expensive one. Yeah.
The 476, 726. Got the 76 in the headroom and.
So the pump is 73 inches in height and the 76, right?
That's correct. Mhm.
And I think the difference is like $1,100 or something. How much is big one?
The difference is gonna be.
Yeah. Inside the package, it's inside the Bluebird.
74 and 79. About $5,000. On the Thomas, the one with the star, it's 74, some 50.
All the way over the very end. Before you hit the next.
Because they want the one
school
with the big
resource
resource,
area.
they still want the longer one.
Okay.
That's where you see the height.
73 and 76. 3 inches.
You know.
It's different. Pero the price.
More not to be able to get a. Yeah. Brand new.
The purchase of Blue Star for purpose of Blue Star myself. Well,
I'm sorry?
so the motion would be move to purchase of Nelson DO buses from the Blue Star bus sales quote.
Yes, sir, that's their choice.
They're more expensive, but I think that extra space matters.
Yeah. So the recommendation to go to what now?
Look at the Blue Star bus sales vendor for the purchase of the 6 buses. And it will be an amount approximately of 476,000. So motion will be Move to approve purchase of non-CDL buses from Blue Star Bus Sales quote as presented.
Okay. We have a motion, a recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to purchase 50 buses from Blue Star Bus Sales. As stated,
Quote as presented.
as presented.
We have a motion by Napa to approve purchase of 6 non-CDL buses from Blue Star, for Senate. 6 of them. We want second by Andy. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. Okay. All right, we'll go to the next item on the agenda is First Amendment, School Resource Officer Agreement.
Thank you, sir. The city manager and I met, and we have another meeting coming here this Thursday along with the chief to discuss the future of the SRO program. At this point, they are struggling to fill some of their positions, as can be seen in the letter. And having met with the administrators and discussed what the status of the SRO program is for us, and looking into the future with the smaller budget and cost of everything. They are requested, and I think that this is a good idea, that they be allowed to absorb 2 of the SROs back into the regular police force, that we reduce the SRO that the district contracts down to 1, who would focus predominantly at high school, secondary, middle school in between. And I have it from the city manager's mouth and also from the police that they intend to continue the morning and afternoon presence at our campuses, so that when we have the highest amount of traffic with the drop off of kids and the pickup of kids, they continue to support us. So this will save us some money that we in turn will reinvest back into our people when we look at our compensation plan here in June. Approximately somewhere in the neighborhood of 120, so $130,000 will go back into the district's pockets so that we can look at taking care of some of our personnel. Questions or concerns?
I'll make a motion to, approve the First Amendment of School Resource Officer. We have a motion that, and I will approve the First Amendment School Resource Officer Agreement to Senate. Do I hear a second? Second by Fred. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is donation to the Fort Falcon School. That's the one.
As an additional donation, I want to give a big thank you to Mrs. PCO Rivas. You can see on the sheet the donation for the golf program made by her, and here's what I recommend the board approve the donation.
We have a recommendation to approve the donation by the very motion.
I'm going to approve the donations as presented.
We have a motion by Sandy to approve the donation to Senate. Do I hear a second? Second. Second by Hunter. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is set monthly rent amount for Spanish Live. Dr. Moore.
So the Spanish line is almost ready for us to do a ribbon cutting. Matter of fact, there are individuals who are already fixing to start moving in to there. And we've had a discussion about what that rate would be more or less. Every time that we have talked to prospective teachers who would look to move into that or other professionals, we've been quoting that it's going to cost approximately $200 to $250 per month. I wanted to go ahead and just formalize and set that price based on what we have for them there. And to do it in a month-to-month fashion. As we've been discussing, the Spanish Trail is not going to be something that they lock into a year. If
can be used as transitional housing until they find an appropriate place for them to move into, will be at a house or an apartment. Or if they're fine living there, then they continue to pay by the month. So do we have any questions or concerns over establishing a price somewhere? You know, we're in a competition fighting for teachers all over the state. So Spanish Trail is never about making money, and we know more or less what it costs to operate. I think that the $200 to $250 or anything in between is fair. Questions, comments?
Are pets gonna be allowed?
That's gonna have to go back to the actual housing handbook that we will be revisiting next school board meeting. So at this point, I'm just talking, setting the price.
kitchen? Say one kitchen?
One of them has a kitchenette. It's kind of a double room, but the actual house itself has a full kitchen. And that's when we do our ribbon cutting and invite everybody out. That's gonna probably be the main thing to go look at, because we do have two very nice living rooms in there. What used to be their office to check people in has been turned into like a little mini bar with another TV, and we're waiting on 3 pieces of equipment to have a nice cardiovascular gym inside of there. So common area wise, it's gonna be very nice.
I have a question. Are we still gonna keep that same thing? Or we're gonna like rename it?
That's what I was gonna say too.
I mean, I don't want Spanish Trail. I'm being honest. Something like the Panther logo or something.
Adjective.
Panther Bean.
Panther Dan.
Start a competition.
Well, the Panther Lodge.
No, that's really related.
But right now, they're just gonna stay there, $200? Or we all think. And we'll put out $200 in a minute.
That is all bills paid.
I was thinking it too.
Not sure you make a motion to approve, $250 as monthly.
Make a motion to set the rate at $250.
Okay, we have a motion by not to set the rate at $250 per month for the rent at the Panther Lodge or. Or now, what, I got a second on that. But second by Fred. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is budget amendment. More.
Sure, as you can see, some run-of-the-mill budget amendments. Mr. Rios, your president, in case there's any specific questions regarding some of these moves, but if not, I recommend that the board approve the budget amendments as presented.
We have a recommendation to approve the budget amendment as presented. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the budget amendment presented.
A motion by not to approve the budget amendment as presented. Do I hear a second? Second by Sandy. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. Go. Next item on the agenda is acknowledgement of FSISD conflict of interest policy, DDFA. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, sir. We just acknowledged it. It's now in the records in our minutes, and it is just for the purpose of the following 2 agenda items regarding the 2. No action is necessary.
Right. Then we go to the next item. I accept an application for a freight application on qualified property submitted pursuant to chapter 313 of the Texas Tax Code from DHI Power LLC and authorizing the superintendent to extend the 150-day deadline for review of those applications as may be required. Dr. Moore.
You tell the attorneys wrote that, right? And just extend it out. We've just recently gone through this with the 313, and this is a separate one as y'all, as everybody here in the board knows. The time frame for completing this 313 is starting to run out. And so with this, DHI Power is also looking for an agreement for establishing another solar farm. And we do have a gentleman here. It was pointed out to me that you were here from DHI. Would you like to address the board at all?
Certainly, I can.
If you'd like, just to introduce yourself and
Sure.
come on.
Thank you, Mr. President, Board, Dr. Moore. My name is Mike Fry, and I'm with Katie Andrews, and I'm out of Rockwall, Texas. And we're a tax consulting firm, and I'm here on behalf of DHI. And what they're proposing here as a potential project is actually a solar of 202 megawatts, 0.8 solar AC, and also a battery energy storage system to go with it, which will be around 205 megawatts. And as you all probably know, most of the applications that are going in today, they're pushing the timeline out simply because of the comptroller, if they have, issues to build this thing in 24 or 25, they cannot file an amendment to push it out. Comptroller will not allow that. So they're basically saying they're asking for a qualifying time period of, it's 26 and 27 to build a project. It'll be around 18 months. And at this point in time, they're looking at about probably a little over around $300 million taxable value with its tax rolls in 28. Now, that's using today's dollars. We all know what the prices are doing, price of steel and everything else, so it could be actually more than that. And these solar projects, basically, they're valued. The state mandates how they're valued at a cost approach at 100% of what they pay. And they're on a 10-year useful life schedule, and they can be no lower than 20% of the original cost in, say, year 11 or 12. So that's kind of the valuation portion of the project. And this one actually is, I guess the location we're looking at is about 26 miles southeast of Fort Stockton. It's pretty far out. Where you go down, I guess, south, it'd be east, around 11 miles out to 285, east of 285. It's on the Iran Sheffield School District line in Fort Stockton. So that's pretty much it. I guess DHI, I believe their parent is DR Horton is involved with that company. So, and they're going to lease the land. They're not going to own it. DHI is not. They're leasing. I think it's kind of an in-house deal as far as the land goes.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank
you. Just to kind of piggyback off of what he said, it's really out in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden it's bringing value to FSISD. And although they're asking for a tax break, when it comes to the interest in sinking, that does not shelter the organization / solar farm. So this is a positive thing. If they succeed in getting this thing built sooner rather than later, then that's one more way that our tax rate can be looked at being brought down, because all in all, the values and the fight have grown. So because of that, I recommend that we approve this application.
We have a recommendation from Dr. Samar to approve the application. It's presented. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to build out the business.
We have a motion by Nathan to approve the application presented. Yeah. Well, it needs to read like it is down here.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
okay.
start.
The board accept the application for value limitation agreement for the DHI Power LLC and authorization of the superintendent for the school, public school, to extend the 150-day period for review for the application as necessary.
We have a motion by Nathan to accept an application for value limitation agreement from DHI Power LLC and authorize the superintendent of schools to extend the 150-day period for review of the application as necessary. Do I hear a second? Second by Fred. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, motion carried. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Moore, you need a signature page.
I believe there's never the signature page.
You have them already. We did.
Good set.
Yeah, ma'am. Can I get you? Thank you, thank y'all very much.
Be safe. Okay, next item on the agenda is action to engage counsel and school finance consultants to assist the district in evaluating the application for agreement for limitation of the appraised value of property for school district maintenance and operation taxes from DHI Power LLC. That's one.
We've already contracted with Dr. Greg Poole and with Sarah Leon for our previous 313 agreement. She is the one that brought this information to us. Being that we're working things almost simultaneously. I recommend that we approve Leon Alcala, PLLC, and Jigsaw to assist with the DHI Power LLC application.
We have a motion, a recommendation to approve Leon Alcala PLLC and Jigsaw to assist with DHI Power LLC. I hear a motion.
I move to retain the law firm of Leon Alcala PLLC and financial consultant, Jigsaw School Finance Solutions LLC to assist the district with the DHI Power application for value limitation agreement from St. Cloud Solar LLC pursuant to chapter 313, that takes property tax.
A motion by Flo to retain the law firm of Leon Alcala PLLC and financial consultant, Jigsaw School Finance Solutions LLC to assist the district with the DHI Power application for a value limitation agreement from St. Cloud Solar LLC pursuant to chapter 313, that will take us property tax code. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Sandy. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. So we say we need to go into.
Only if somebody has something personnel wise that they have to discuss. Not, I don't have a reason for it.
Do that. Okay, not. And, before resignation, that is the notification, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, in future meeting.
And we do have to look at a future meeting, a couple of changes. Number one is we're gonna have to get together at some point for the purpose of looking at budget planning. And then the second thing with the school board being at SLI and also for the TREA convention to accept the award from School Board of the Year. And myself out of that equation for 2 weeks as I complete my military summer training in academy. We're looking at having to move the normal regular schedule meeting for June. I want to say that when we looked at it, Ms. Beverly, was the 30th, an opportunity when they would be back and I also would be back.
Right.
So that is the last day of the month. We could possibly look at doing a regular board meeting for June. But Ms. Maria, what are your thoughts on budget planning?
I probably need at least a couple of weeks, middle part of June. Not sure when you'll be
So
gone.
to revisit again with board members sometime probably before I leave to see if we can establish, you know, or even if I have to do it virtually, we'll come up with something. Just put it in your mind that we're gonna have to do that board workshop for budget and then our regular meeting somewhere near the end of the month. Also the 30th sound, that's when it'd be the day after the TREA, the day after the TREA.
Is everybody planning to come back?
No.
That's another.
I'll plan on.
I was gonna stay on course. I can't afford to stay out there.
I don't know.
Well, the 30th, okay, I don't know. We appreciate your dedication. Be here on
As long as we still have a quorum, we can set up Zoom. As long as we get a quorum here, we can still do a Zoom. For everybody to participate.
We'll be back.
Rick. 30.
Seven?
Everybody go?
You want to do it, but it's 6.
Seven.
6.
Yeah.
Everybody going to that too?
So it's 6 o'clock, okay, better for you guys? Or you okay with 7? 6. And then on the budget planning, what date are we looking at?
We're gonna have to give Miss Maria a little bit more chance, and part of that is my fault, because we were so pushing, for the bond and calculating and things like that, so I slowed her down, but we'll get on it. Okay. We're more time.
Administrator, thank you for this year. All the principal. Thank you very much for everything out there. Well, I think.
We're talking about it. But you got. What do you want? So would you be able to do that earlier for that? Would you have time?
In the evening like that, yes, sir.
On the week of the 20th, is that what you're talking about? Or you want it before? For her, if you got that, you're doing the week of the 6th?
15th or whatever, but for me, I think it's the 16th that I'll be in June, so. And it's the last.
We're leaving, I'm leaving this.
Thank you for your dedication.
But the week of the 6th, no, that's. Okay. You let us know.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions from the news meeting? Okay, not. Thank you all.